And now we have some breaking news to tell you about tonight. Just as we came on the air, new details from the State Department about what happened in Libya, the violence that cost 4 Americans their lives, including U.S. Ambassador Chris Stevens. And ABC's John Carl is standing by with this late news. John.
Diane, this is ahead of a major congressional hearing tomorrow into what happened in that attack on our consulate in Libya. And we are hearing new details that we have never heard before about what went down, and this is significantly different than what we were told at the time. At the time, as you recall, we were told it was a protest that went bad and became an attack. Now we are told there was no protest going on outside that embassy. The first indication that they heard anything outside the walls of the embassy of the consulate compound was an explosion and gunfire. They looked through a camera to see what was going on, and we are told they saw a large number of armed men coming in and approaching that compound. We're told it was a very complex attack without precedent in U.S. diplomatic history. We've never seen an attack like this in Libya or anywhere else, we were told by this senior State Department official. So, Diane, one other fascinating detail is that they still don't know how Ambassador Stevens got to the hospital. Doctors at the hospital took the cell phone out of his pants, out of his pocket, and started calling it. That's how they found out that he was there.
John, this is an incredible breaking news tonight. Any explanation for the change in the story?
Well, this is part of their investigation. They say they continue to investigate, but they have never given us anywhere near a detailed timeline like this. And believe me, a big part of this, Diane, is because you have this major congressional hearing tomorrow, and they wanted to get this out now.
All right, these new developments just in. Thank you, John.
And George, now to that shocking security lapse that could have changed the outcome of the deadly attack in Libya last month. This morning, a top State Department security official is gearing up to testify today that security there was inadequate. ABC's Jake Tapper has exclusive reporting. He is at the White House with the very latest. Jake.
Good morning, Amy. That's right. Eric Nordstrom, the former top security official at the U.S. Embassy in Libya, has told congressional investigators that security at that compound in Benghazi, where Ambassador Stevens and 3 other Americans were killed, was, quote, inappropriately low. And you will be surprised to hear who stood in his way, in his view, when he tried to rectify that. ABC News has learned that although Eric Nordstrom and the commander of an American security team also in Libya had heard that foreign fighters were flowing across the Egyptian border, State Department officials seemed oblivious to the Benghazi consulate's vulnerability. Nordstrom told investigators he was worried. A local Libyan security brigade in Benghazi consisted mostly of merchants and shopkeepers and had received no pay in months, other than a daily $30 stipend for food from the embassy. I had no idea if they would respond to an attack, Nordstrom told investigators. Senior State Department officials now acknowledge that only an hour before gunmen methodically and deliberately stormed the compound, killing Ambassador Chris Stevens, the streets were empty and things were calm. A direct contradiction to earlier statements made by administration officials claiming the trouble began with demonstrations against that anti-Muslim video.
A small number of people came to the consulate to replicate the sort of challenge that was posed in Cairo. And then as that unfolded, it seems to have been hijacked, let us say, by some individual clusters of extremists.
Nordstrom now tells investigators he had been concerned for a while, and that even though he had security personnel in Tripoli, the State Department would not give him permission to deploy them to Benghazi. Now, Nordstrom told congressional investigators that State Department official Charlene Lamb, quote, didn't seem to have a problem with having no agents on the compound in Benghazi because if something happened, then personnel could simply go to a residential safe haven that had been set up. Of course, that safe haven is where Ambassador Stevens and another American got lethal smoke inhalation. Amy?
Boy, and there will be a lot of questions about that today, Jake. Thanks very much.